In this video, I'm going to show you how to install and configure the Gravity Forms form builder, and I'm going to show you how to build your first form and embed it on your website so you can start taking applications or submissions or whatever it is you want to do with it right away. And we're getting started right now. Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video. It's Bjorn from WP Learning Lab, where we help you get better at WordPress so you can earn more for yourself, for your clients, and for your business. If it's your first time here, hit subscribe, then hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss anything. And with that out of the way, let's head over to the screen capture and learn how to install and use Gravity Forms. I'll see you there. The only place to get Gravity Forms is from gravityforms.com. There is no free version in the WordPress plugin repository. There's just the premium version you buy from their site. Now, an important thing to note is, like it says right here, this does not work with WordPress.com hosted sites, only self-hosted installations. Second thing to note, there's 3 pricing tiers. Why they matter is because of this, the add-ons that are included. The first tier has no add-ons. The second one has the basic add-ons. The third one has basic and advanced. You can also use the developer license on unlimited websites versus a limit on these. But really, the feature I go for is the add-ons, and there's quite a few of them. And this video is part of a playlist where I go through a lot of these add-ons and show you how to use them. On the right-hand side here, you see a list of the basic ones, then the advanced ones. There's quite a few of them. You can do a lot of stuff with this plugin. So let's get started. I have a developer license for Gravity Forms, so I can use all the add-ons. And when you buy Gravity Forms, no matter which tier you choose, you're going to get a download link. So you just click on download. I already have it on my hard drive, ready to rock and roll. So once you have it downloaded to your hard drive, you go to plugins, then click on add new, then click on upload plugin. And I have mine right here. I'm just going to drag and drop this guy over to here. And you see a bunch of random numbers at the end. And there, when I hover, you can see the whole thing, but it's blurred out for security reasons. The reason is that's the actual serial number for my developer license of Gravity Forms. The reason I put it in there is because I don't want to always have to log back into the Gravity Forms site to find my serial number or have it in some kind of note on my computer. I put it right in the file name of the plugin, so whenever I upload it, I've got the serial number right there. Makes my life a whole lot faster and easier. So I'm going to click on install now. I'm going to copy my serial number, then click on activate, and now Gravity Forms is installed. We have a new Forms menu icon on the left. If we click on or hover over that and then click on settings, it takes us to where we enter our license key. So I'm just going to paste it right in here, then click on next. Now it's asking if we want to turn on background updates or not. I found with Forms plugins, it's pretty safe to turn on background updates because they're not super critical to the functioning of the entire website. I've never really had problems with it. But if you want to turn off the background updates, you'll then have to update it manually. There'll be a little orange circle with a number in it showing up beside the plugins if there's an update available. If you have background updates on, it will auto update whenever there's an update. So I'm going to keep the auto update on. So here we first pick a currency. I'm going to pick US dollars. This is only relevant if you have one of the add-ons that accept payments. So if we hop back over to Gravity Forms, none of the basic add-ons allow payments, but in the advanced add-ons, which is developer license only, can't highlight that text, but you see it right below the highlighted part. Authorize.net is a payment processor. So is PayPal. There's 3 different PayPal add-ons, Stripe add-on. And so for those, you're going to have a currency set. So pick any currency that's correct for you. For me, it's US dollars. For no conflict mode, this is for if in the back end for the Gravity Forms admin pages, if there is some kind of conflict detected between the Gravity Forms styles and scripts and the other plugins and themes on your site, it's going to make sure that the conflict doesn't break anything. And this is only for the admin area. This is not for public-facing website. I'm going to choose those 2 options like that, click on next, and now we are finished. So Gravity Forms is installed. We can now create a form. Before we do that, I'm going to head over to Import Export. So if you've created a form before, or say you're doing this for a client, for example, you could create a form on a development site and just have, maybe you have 50 different forms laid out for different purposes. You can just export them. And then when you have a client that wants a certain type of form, you come in here and you just go to import, and then you can easily import the form. And of course, for export on that tab, you just pick a form. Currently we don't have any, but if there's a form in here, you just export it, then you can import it, which is a huge time saver. Add-ons, This is the last area I'm going to show you before we hop into creating a form. All the add-ons that we see on the right-hand side on the sales page here, they are found right here as well. You can install them just by clicking the install button. And we're going to get into a lot of these in the rest of this playlist. So I'm not going to cover any of them now, but they are here. This is where to find them. So now we're going to head over to New Form and click on there. First things first, we give our form a title. So I'm going to call this Application Form. You can give it a description as well. It's not required, but I'm just going to put that same title in the description. Then click on Create Form. And now we have our form builder. Up here we have a warning, no fields in this form. Yes, we know, we're just starting. And these helpful annotations here, these will disappear as soon as we drag a field over. So if you want to read these, you got to read through them, and it just basically tells you what to do. And I'm going to show you how to do it right now so you don't have to read them now. But if you are installing this form on your site, just quickly read through those because they're informative. Any form requires fields. And on the right-hand side, we have a box with standard fields, single line text, paragraph text, drop-down, multi-select, number, checkboxes, radio buttons, hidden fields, HTML, where you can add any HTML you want, a section break, and a page break. Those are all our standard fields. Advanced fields, we have name, date, time, phone, address, website, email, file upload, CAPTCHA, and a list. So those are all very useful and quite common on forms. In fact, I've never seen a form without a name field, at least, and an email field. Post fields are pretty cool because they actually allow you to create a WordPress draft entry, draft post from the information that's entered in these fields. So we have our title, body, excerpt, tags, category, post image, and custom field. And if we add those to this form, this can be used to create a draft on the WordPress site, which might be great for if you have a bunch of writers, but you don't want to give them access to your site for whatever reason, even though you could give them an author user account. If you don't want to do that, you could actually create this form, put it on some hidden page, and then have them submit their content through a form like this. Then we have our pricing fields. And here, of course, we have product-related things like product, quantity, option, shipping, and total. And that is all the fields. Now, the ones we're going to cover are the basic ones that will be used to create our application form. Throughout this playlist, we're going to cover the other fields as well, but just not in this video. So let's click on Advanced Fields. And then I'm going to drag and drop name to the left. And now we have our name field. By default, it has first and last as the boxes. If we click on this little arrow right here, we open up the options. We can change the label, which is this up here. So this could be, please enter your name. We can have a description if you want one. If it's a complex field, might be handy. For the name fields, I actually only want to have the first name, but you have the option of adding in prefix, middle name, suffix, and then first and last, of course, as we just saw. And if we want to change this little piece of text underneath here, whoops. So this little first down here, I'm just going to type in first name only, just for some more clarity. If you want it required, click on the required box right here. Under the appearance tab, we can have placeholders in place. So we could type in, please enter your first name. Obviously, this is a little overkill. I don't have to tell them 3 times, but you can do that if you want, or enter other information into that placeholder. Description placement. This is the description we entered in the general over here, right here. We can have it above or below the input field. The sub-label placement, which is the first name only that I have, you can have it above or below as well. So here it's above, then we have it below, which is where it was earlier. And we can use the form setting, which in this case is below. So if somebody enters this field or enters information in this field incorrectly, we can have a custom message that appears. There is an error message that appears by default, but we can add a custom one here if we want to. We can add a CSS class for CSS styling. In the advanced menu, the admin field label is just inside the Gravity Forms admin. If you enter a name here, it changes the name or the label for this input field in the Gravity Forms admin. I've never used this. I don't know why you'd want to, but maybe you do. Default values. So you can have this page load, you can pre-fill a first name if you want. Or, better yet, down here you can allow the field to be populated dynamically. If we check this box, it asks us for a parameter name. And if you want it populated dynamically, you have to have parameters. And again, this is something I'll show you later on in this playlist. But if you have an autoresponder, you can quite often have a parameter in the URL that contains the person's name or email address or any other data you have in the CRM. So when they load this page with the form, you can pull their name in dynamically from what's in the URL, which is pretty cool. Visibility, you can have certain fields visible to everyone or admin only. And you can have field logic, but this only works on certain field types, and name is not one of them. Here it says only on field that support conditional logic. This isn't one of them. So after all of that, we have a field to enter someone's name. Next one's going to be a lot faster, I promise. So then we want to add, in this case, an email. Remember, we're building an application form here. So we're going to create an email, required. You can add a confirmation field if you want. I'm going to do that. And then the appearance is basically the same, all the same stuff. You can change the field size on this one, but not in the other one. Placeholders, advanced, all looks pretty much the same. This one can have conditional logic. So if you enter a certain value in there, so if the email is, say, Bob is going to come to your site and apply, you can enter Bob's email here and then have the form do certain things based on that email address. The conditional logic for email I think is kind of shaky, but for other fields, like if you have a custom field where you're asking someone for their age, you could have conditional logic that shows them different questions based on how old they are, for example. And I'm going to add a phone number. If you don't want to click and drag, you can actually just click on the button here, and I'll just add it right to the bottom of the list. So I've got a phone number, open this, going to make it required. You can change number format depending on where you are, either North American or international. And appearance, pretty much the same stuff as before. Advanced, same stuff as well. Address, by default it's got all the usual suspects. Street address, a second line if they need it, city, state, province, region, zip, postal code, and country. The country dropdown, I can't show it to you here, but it's a full list of countries, which is pretty awesome. So address type, you can choose from these, and you can turn different fields on and off if you don't want certain fields. You can have a default country pre-populated, so maybe Angola, maybe that's where your business is or where you live or whatever. You could have that pre-populated for the country if you want. Or you could just have it as blank and no country appears. I'm going to make that required as well, so people submit their address. And then we are going to I'm going to enter a page break. And this is how easy it is to add a page break. There it is. So this box here says end of first page, is pointing up to the top. This is the top of the new page down here in between these two. So if we want to add in paragraph text, I'm going to make this, I'm going to give it a name. Why are you applying? I'm going to make that required. And for the appearance, again, same thing, advanced, same thing. But the cool thing is this is not a different page. And that's all you have to do to make different pages. You can have as many as you want of these pages. Now we have this why are you applying field, but we want to make another one just like it. What we can do is push this clone button right here, and then it will clone that box. Now we have two of them. Quickly pop in here. Why do you think you're qualified? So now we have, obviously this is a bad example, this one, but if this was a form element that required a lot of settings that you custom selected or custom set, being able to duplicate it is very handy then. But in this case, all I did was add a field label and make it required. So it's not the best example, but they're all duplicated in the same way. Every one you hover over has this little clone icon. Click on that to clone it. Now I'm going to add some checkboxes. Click and drag those onto there. And I'm going to say, select your favorite colors. Blue, green, red. Now the cool thing with select boxes and a couple other elements like multi-select, drop downs, radio buttons, I believe, you can click the show values button. And when the form is submitted, you can have these values be different. For example, the label is blue, but the value might be I like blue. Might make more sense this way. So the label on the form itself is I like blue, but then the value submitted in the form is just blue, just the keyword that you need to assess that applicant. And you'll have to decide what you want to put in here. If anything, you just leave these the way they are. If you don't choose select or show values, it will keep them the same as the label. So you can use those values or not use them. But if you want to add more choices, just click on the plus. Want to take away a choice, just click on the minus, and the choice is gone. You can predefine choices if you want. I make most fields required, so I'm going to select that. Appearance and advanced, again, pretty much the same. Now what you can also do, which is pretty slick, is instead of having the values be a word like this, you can have the values be numbers. So maybe you want to only hire people who like the color blue. So you can give that a value of 5, for example. Give red a value of 1. And you can have all kinds of questions that you assign different values to them. You have to work out these values in the scoring plan beforehand, but you can add in values for these things. Then you can go ahead and add in a number field. And I'm going to get into this in more detail in this video specific to just this type of thing, but this allows you to do calculations. So here's a checkbox in the number field called Enable Calculation. We check that. We can insert merge fields. So I like blue plus I like red plus whatever else you choose. And like I say, you have to plan this out beforehand. So you have to know what the scoring choices are, what the people can choose, and what the ideal scores are that you're looking for. So you might be wondering why I have both in here. Well, it's because they can actually select both of these. This was a checkbox where they can check either one. Now, if we have a drop-down, for example, we add a drop-down, we do the same kind of thing. We're going to do what's your favorite food, spaghetti, veggies, fruit, show values, give this a 3, a 2, and a 1. Now, I might have to save the form before this takes effect. Yeah, so let's update the form. And now we have, hopefully, now we have that field appearing here. But unlike the checkbox field, there's only one option available. What's your favorite food? Because a drop-down, by default, only allows you to choose one of them. So if you're using the checkbox option, you have to add both of them into your calculation field. I'm getting way too far in depth with this because I got a whole video about this, but just to finish off, you can come in here, add in merge tags for the different fields that allow you to enter values for their entries. Then you can create a calculation based on what they chose, and then give them certain scores, and then even give them custom feedback at the end automatically. There's a lot of things you can do with that. I'm going to show you some examples in the calculation video. And one more thing with the calculation field, whenever I do forms like this, the calculation field is hidden. Then that data is entered into a CRM, for example, and specific things happen on autopilot based on what they entered. Neither here nor there. I'm going to update this form. I'm going to pretend this is it for the application form, and we're going to create a page that contains this form and see how it looks. So if we click on, first we're going to click on form settings actually, and then go to form settings again. And here we have information about the form, the basics that we entered at the beginning, the layout, self-explanatory. If you don't know what these mean, just hover over the question mark and it tells you what they are. Form button. Usually I'd use text and submit, but you can have your own custom image be the button, including conditional logic on the button. People can save the form and they can come back later to finish it. Restrictions, you can limit how many times people are allowed to do the form. This works exceptionally well for polls or surveys or contests. You can schedule the form, so it'll be there on your defined schedule. So maybe you only want the form up until Christmas, but then after Christmas you want it to come down. You can do that using schedule form. Require users to be logged in. They have to have an account and be logged in. Self-explanatory. This uses the honeypot spam technique. It's an alternative to reCAPTCHAs. It works pretty well. Animated transitions. So if you go from page to page, you can have animated transitions if you want. I didn't change anything, so I'm not going to save it. Next thing I want to do is go to confirmations. This is what the person sees after they finish the form. So by default, we have this. I'm going to click on edit really quick. So it says, thanks for contacting us. We will get in touch with you shortly. If you want to change this message, just type in a new one here. If you want them to go to a specific page on your site, click this radio button. Select the page, click on Save Confirmation. You can also have them redirect with a query string, which we touched on earlier, which is where they have information in the URL. For example, they fill in that field. All the information in that field is going to be in the URL. So you could have this page customized so it pulls in their name and their address and their favorite color, for example. And then that page is customized with that information if you wanted to. I don't use that very often, but it's an option available to you. Then you can redirect, which goes to someplace outside of your website, usually. And then, again, with the query string, you can have your parameters in here. Notifications, we click on those, and this will be when you're notified of a submission. So if we click on Edit here for this default one, the admin notification email, this is the email set under Settings. So if we go over here to Settings and then General, we have an email field right here. So whatever email address is in this field is where this admin notification is going to go. This is the admin email right here. You can add other ones, just add a comma and then type in another email address. That's not a valid email, so don't use that, but you get what I'm saying. There's some advanced send to options that you probably won't use, so we're not going to touch on it here because it's a whole can of worms, so we're just going to leave that. The from name is a name that it's sent from. You can also use this little drop down here to use merge fields. So these are the fields that are actually in the form. So you can choose any field in the form, enter that as the from name. From email, same thing, although there's only one option for this. You probably just want to use the email. Reply to if you want to, blind carbon copy if you want to, subject, as you keep it as that. All fields is a short code that will add all the fields to the message. You can custom add fields if you want using this drop down on the right again. Disable auto formatting. This is just auto formatting that the plugin uses. You can turn that on or off, doesn't matter. Conditional logic is also available. Then update notification when you're happy with that. And after all that, our form is complete. Now we can go and add it somewhere. So I'm going to add it to a page. Just going to make a new page. And I'm going to call this application form, is what I created there. Now Gravity Forms adds this button right here. Click on that. Select a form from the drop down. It'll show all the ones you have. We only have one right now. You can choose to display the title that we entered. I almost always have this off. Choose to display the description. I almost always have that off. And Ajax, I almost always have that on because Ajax is just smoother. It is JavaScript that can put stuff in your database without refreshing the page. So I'll almost always have that on, even though most forms don't use it. I just turn it on anyway. Advanced options, just the tab index, which is usually never used, so don't even worry about it. Turn that off. Insert form. And this is the short code for the Gravity form right here. Click on Publish. And then we hop over to the page to see how that looks. This is how the form looks. We have a nice little progress bar here. It says step 1 of 2 because we have 2 pages. If there's only 1 page, there'd be no progress bar and no step 1 of 2 notification. If you have 20 pages, this would say step 1 of 20, and we'd only be at 5% instead of 50% on the first page. So I'm going to type in just some stuff. All right, so let's fill in some basic stuff there. I'm going to click on next, go to the next page. And now we fill in, or now it's updated, step 2 of 2, 100%. Why are you applying? Because. Why do you think you're qualified? Because I like the color blue. I like all of these. I'm gonna pick veggies because those are really healthy. And here, our number field is doing a calculation. So if we uncheck blue, it goes down to 2. Recheck it, goes up to 7. Check that, goes up to 8. So this is what we were talking about earlier with the calculations. I usually have this field hidden, like I said, but it's not hidden right now, so it's kind of cool to see the calculation. Then when we're done, we'll click on submit, and it has our default message because we didn't change it. But now if we go back into our application form, that entry will have generated an email that goes to the admin email address. But we also have this little 1 in an orange circle appear. And if we click on or hover over this, then go to entries, we see the entries for that form. We can click on view to view it, and we see all the data that person entered in the form, including the calculations, which is pretty cool. So a lot of other plugins, you have to have custom add-ons that add the form into the database. Here it's done automatically. And if you go to forms, if you have many forms, if you hover over this, you can see entries on specific forms as well. Whereas if you go to entries, I believe you see all the forms. And that's all there is to Gravity Forms, setting it up and using it. In the rest of this playlist, there's going to be a lot more going on with specific things like those calculations, like how to use conditional logic and really specific but powerful stuff like that. But if all you ever do is just do what's in this video, you're going to have really capable forms on your site. That's how easy it is to use Gravity Forms. The more you use it, the easier it's going to get, so I encourage you to use it. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below this video. If you haven't done so yet, hit subscribe, then hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss anything. And next up is clicking one of these videos that popped up on the right hand side, or even better, keep on cruising along in this Gravity Forms playlist to learn all about the Gravity Forms form builder. Until next time, keep crushing it, and I will see you in the next video.